is enough. Manchester United are 14th in the league in March. This is an abomination. The fact we're now witnessing this great club slip out of the FA Cup at home to Fulham and nobody bats an eyelid anymore. In fact, something like that is now expected. Sorry, but this is an absolute disgrace. Hello, I am the Irish guy, and when I was growing up as a boy in Ireland, I was surrounded by smug Manchester United fans at school. Every Monday morning they would trudge into school looking like those rich spoiled brats who had Green Day perform at their private birthday party, whilst I sat at home blowing out candles I'd shoved in a sad little muffin. Manchester United were absolutely ruling their roost in Premier League football, whilst Newcastle were getting relegated. Well, as the fact we're now in 2024, and a 40-year-old manager has them just 4 places above the relegation zone, with 11 games of the season left, I am sorry, but this is an absolute joke, and I actually feel sorry for Manchester United. Yeah, imagine getting pity from me, someone who looks like a gargoyle. Manchester United being 14th in the league in March is unthinkable. It's unfathomable. It's a disgrace. To put it in context, just how awful it is. Well, when Manchester United won the Champions League in 2008, the team who squirmed into 14th was Wigan under Steve Bruce, and who had Titus Bramble at the back. I mean, most of you who won't have a clue who or what he was, but let me assure you, he was like football's answer to a headless goblin. That Wigan team from that season, by the way, lost 8 Premier League games in a row. Tell any Manchester United fan back then that they would one day have a similar season to that awful Laddox team, and just no! It would be a bit like if I emailed Justin Bieber and told him that one day he would be homeless, stealing chicken nuggets out of a bin, and asking stray cats if he can have a kiss. Teams who finish 14th are usually garbage, spineless mid-table muffins who had been involved in a relegation scrap. The only reason Manchester United have been spared that embarrassment is because the 3 promoted teams have been so abominably awful that they can't even muster up a survival attempt. Honestly, Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton are the equivalent of those stupid cheerleaders who go searching for that creepy noise in the basement in the first 10 minutes of any horror film. They are the only reason Manchester United fans haven't been given the embarrassment of having to concentrate on the relegation zone. Honestly, Manchester United fans watching their own club these days must be about as painful as whenever Tina Fey tells us she's hired body doubles. Oh, I hate that advert so much. Lads, why did Ruben Amorim choose to ruin his life? Why? To think he was supposed to be the #1 choice for the Liverpool job a year ago? This man was absolutely flying at Sporting Lisbon. They'd won all 11 league games. He had them sitting second at the Champions League table after thumping Man City on matchday 4. He was an absolute king in Portugal, and he chooses to step foot into a club so toxic. Even the egg and cheese paninis in the canteen probably have traces of rat vomit in the mail. I mean, since leaving Lisbon, that club has since collapsed so wildly. I mean, yeah, officially they're just about still clinging onto top spot in Portugal, but honestly, if that team holds on to win that league, finishing above this quality Benfica team, then no. I will eat eggs out of a stranger's fireplace. Look, I know this man felt guilty about sneaking out of Portugal to have a meeting with West Ham last spring, so when a giant club like Manchester United came knocking after that, when he was probably spending last April ringing his bosses in Portugal pretending he was sick, when secretly he was sitting in a London coffee shop unveiling a PowerPoint presentation about how best to utilize Thomas Souček, somebody who has the natural grace of the mountain of Game of Thrones, then yes, this job offer was probably too good to turn down. But come on, mate, look at the long list of Manchester United bosses who've taken this job, and now name me one, just one, whose stock was higher after they finished up at the club. There are none. Old Trafford has become a graveyard for football coaches. Right, well, but let's not forget, in 2017, David Moyes should contractually have still been the Manchester United boss, right? Instead, he was finishing rock bottom of the league. This club does things to certain managers. It almost drowns their love for the sport in a toilet bowl. Looking at Manchester United now in its current guise is probably a bit like you casting a glance at the horrifying trailer for Shrek 5. Oh, I always wanted to see Shrek with abs, right? No. Lads, when was the last time Manchester United had a convincing win? Like a comfortable, easy victory. I'll tell you when. December the 1st. Back when it was too soon to even put up your Christmas tree. Amorim's first Premier League match at Old Trafford. A 4-0 win over Everton. Where, weirdly, Rashford scored twice. But he's since gone back to showing his egocentric, bratish behaviour, which has put him on the naughty step at Aston Villa. And lads, that entitled behaviour has been rife within this squad for years. Ever since Paul Pogba was bought. I genuinely genuinely believe that is the single most damaging signing in the club's history. Because not only did they embarrass themselves by paying a world record fee for someone they let go for free, that was a knock to the club's self-esteem, sure. But it goes much deeper than that, because this man is everything wrong with the sport. To put it simply, can you imagine Paul Pogba sharing a dressing room with Roy Keane? I can't, because Pogba would have been decapitated on the second day. This is someone who has all the natural talent and ability in the world, but his hunger and appetite for winning things, it is being diluted in a bucket of cow piss. Him winning the World Cup with France was like when McGregor got his Floyd Mayweather paycheck. That's it! He's done! Football completed, mate. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was able to coast on his ability and talent for the first 18 months back at Manchester United. I mean, people want to talk about Jose Mourinho's debut season as having been a nightmare because they finished 6th. But, hello, they went on a 25-game unbeaten streak in the league. Manchester United did not lose a single Premier League match between October and May. And they also won 2 cup finals. And the following season, they went on to just finish 2nd to the greatest Premier League side of all time. And yeah, Pogba was decent. Very, very decent on the pitch, but his attitude soon polluted the squad. I mean, lads, this is someone so self-absorbed. He literally brought out something called the Pogmentary. I mean, it kind of proves just how out of touch Pogba is from reality because, well, the thing scored 1.1 out of 10 on IMDb. It had a lower ranking on that website than The Disaster Movie, The Emoji Movie, and Cats. Yeah, it was deemed a rougher watch than seeing a furry James Corden lick his crotch. Yeah, I think Pogba's influence blended together with his annoying sidekick Jay Ling's. That is a lot to answer for what sort of a toxic sludgefest the Manchester United squad has become. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the eager-to-please weak babysitter, just let it all happen on his watch. That man didn't care about winning. He just wanted to be popular. Right now, in the middle of Turkey, I'm guessing that man is giving Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain an awkward fist bump and telling him his favourite Little Mix song. He was Manchester United's David Brent. Is it any wonder that both Ten Hag and Amorim have now had to expel first Sancho and now Rashford for bad behaviour? And even now, your boy Wonder Garnacho is forced to buy his teammates a dinner as punishment for once again behaving like a brat. I mean, when Pogba first arrived, sure, he loved himself and would probably have eaten his own mum's eyeballs to keep the fame train going, but he at least was linking up with a born winner like Zlatan Ibrahimovic to keep him right. But once the beastly Swedish king left the club, then Pogba was free to chill with other baby brats. And this has resulted in a weak-minded culture. These players, they don't care. The Pogba attitude has rubbed off on most of them, which is why Rashford is now 27 and at Aston Villa. And people might now be saying, oh, Rashford is back. He looks unstoppable at Aston Villa. I don't care if he does net 15 goals on loan for them. Lingard looked unbelievable on loan at West Ham, forcing me to do an entire apology video. Look at him now. Once the weak, laissez-faire attitude rots into your brain, it doesn't leave you. Honestly, in 2 years' time, Rashford could well be in China. This is a travesty. 14th in the league in March. It is an absolute joke. It is a disgrace. Is Amorim the answer? Is he? He's been in charge of Manchester United for 24 games and he has a 41% win record. When he was linked with the Liverpool job a year ago, I did a video saying that this man was a risk and that he could be just the next Andre Villas-Boas. Yeah, that man survived 40 games at Chelsea and he had a better win percentage of 47. I mean, to be fair, he had a much better Chelsea squad. Of course he did. So it is unfair to compare his work at Chelsea to Amorim when he now is forced to work with absolute human pineapples. But I don't know where this club go from here. I mean, do you have the money to give him the player that he needs for its 3-5-2 system? It's just an absolute mess. I mean, right now, he has to use Rasmus Højlund up front. Someone who hasn't scored in about 30 games and is surely, pound for pound, the worst striker in Premier League history. Even worse than Andy Carroll. He's like if Mattia Kezman had cost £60 million instead of just 5 that Chelsea paid in 2004. 60 million! This whole thing is an absolute mess. Just a few months ago, Amorim was the favourite to take Pep Guardiola's job at Man City. I mean, come on, the old Sporting Lisbon director Hugo Viana just rocked up at the Etihad. So if Pep were to walk, then of course, Amorim would have been in line for the throne. Then you could play your weird 3-5-2 to your heart's content, because he would have had the personnel to do it and the attitudes to adapt. But these stubborn Man United brats, they are a disgrace to the badge. Awful. I actually feel sorry for Manchester United. Let's go back to 2011, shall we? And Ryan Giggs was proudly proclaiming that Manchester United would never slip and fall like Liverpool did, and that the future was undeniably bright because Ferguson had looked after the club by buying future world-class young talent.
Now we've got the next batch, the likes of Javier Hernandez, Rafael and Fabio da Silva, Gabriel Obertan and Chris Smalling, all young players who will hopefully get better over the next few years.
Did they? I mean, now with the value of hindsight, we can see that this collection of future Manchester United stars actually at the star quality of a squished bag of eggs. Hernandez wound up being a bloated West Ham flop in his 20s. The Brazilian twins wound up being the football version of Jedward, a duo that were so horrific. I bet their own mum probably felt like she was giving birth to demons off an Exorcist film. I wouldn't be shocked if baby Fabio had tried to eat a nurse's hand whilst Giggs, gassing up Gabriel Obertan, is about as embarrassing as any one of his love poems. I actually think that Sir Alex Ferguson has to take some blame for the sizable mess that came later. People like to talk about how this man was successful in building new teams by blooding through top talent from all over Europe. And yes, that is true, but come on, either his eye for talent took a tumble, or he just got lazy, because his last 4 summer transfer windows were pretty diabolical. After 2008, he signed just one world-class player for the club, a 29-year-old Robin van Persie, somebody who was actually a greedy short-term signing. Come on, RVP was not one for the future of the club. That was just for Ferguson. It's been like your mum asking you to do the food shopping for the family, right? And what do you do instead? You just buy an ice cream on a sunny day when you're 40 minutes away from home. Yeah, either you eat that yourself now, or you wait to give a creamy melted puddle to your mum. Look, apparently Robert Lewandowski had agreed to join Manchester United in 2012, only for Borussia Dortmund to say no. Yeah, he was 23. Christ above, he's still leading the line for Barcelona now, whilst Van Persie now looks like if Robert De Niro starved himself for a year. The man looks like if you stretched Judi Dench, and can now be found nervously eating Cheerios in a Feyenoord dugout, ready to get absolutely abolished by Inter Milan. And if he doesn't, I'm going to China. Well, Lewandowski would have been that sort of ambitious future buy for the club, but getting RVP, it was selfish. Manchester United planned for Fergie's exit so hilariously poorly. Christ, in 2009, you sold Cristiano Ronaldo for a bonkers £80 million. And how do you reinvest it? By giving his hallowed number 7 shirt to a broken Michael Owen who'd just been relegated at Newcastle. Somebody who was now so scared to run that if he had woken up in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, he'd have been eaten before breakfast. And Ronaldo's starting spot on the right wing went to a winger from Wigan. Antonio Valencia, who was off the back of 2 3-goal seasons. Ronaldo in that time frame had scored over 60, replacing one of the biggest names in world football with a Wigan player who'd be like the sidemen choosing to dump KSI and replace him with your weird cousin who licks toasters and curries. Ferguson head-hunting David Moyes set this club back years. I'm sorry, but it did. The amount of damage that one appointment did to the entire structure and future of this club. Hear me out. Moyes is a very good, competent mid-table manager, sure, but that might be the single most damaging appointment in Premier League history. Because look at the other candidates at the time. Right now, Manchester United cannot go out there and appoint the best coaches in the world because they're not as attractive as they were in 2012. But back then, they were arguably the biggest club in the world. Honestly, Real Madrid had just had an awful 10 years. They didn't win a Champions League knockout match for about 6 years. While Manchester United had been in 3 Champions League finals. They could have hired anyone they wanted, but they wasted their golden appeal on the Everton boss. Why not Carlo Ancelotti, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Jose Mourinho, even Luis Enrique or Mauricio Pochettino, before they got big, would have been shrewd appointments. I mean, Moyes had actually failed the job interview at Manchester United before. In 1998, Ferguson had interviewed him for the Manchester United assistant manager's job, but he didn't give it to him because he was very tense, and so instead opted for Steve McLaren. Yes, Moyes was on the cusp of becoming a treble-winning coach at Manchester United. How weird would that have been to see him leaping around the new camp after Ollie's late winner? But no, you're telling me that's someone you didn't think good enough to be your assistant, somebody you didn't think was competent enough to fetch you custard creams and tea. Oh, he was still ready for the number 1 job now, right? After failing to win a sausage at Everton. Are you mad? I think Ferguson picked him because he was Scottish and his mate. If Moyes didn't take the job, I reckon Ferguson would have rang up his mate, Sam Allardyce. Genuinely. So, Manchester United, where do they go from here? I don't know, but so many mistakes have been made, and right now, it's unforgivable. Anyway, that's the video. Let me know what do you think. Let me know in the comments. Am I too mean about Man United? Probably not, because 14th is ridiculous. But let me know in the comments. Don't forget to connect, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you in a while.